Sorry, reform movements. So Aligarh movement was started by Syed Ahmad Khan in 1875. He wanted to reconcile Western scientific education and the teachings of the Quran. The Aligarh movement aimed at spreading the modern education among the Indian Muslims without weakening their allegiance to Islam. So the social reforms among Muslims related to Parda, polygamy and diverse Syed's progressive social ideas were propagated through his magazine Tahdib ul Akhlaq, improvement of manners and morals. Syed Ahmad Khan's educational program emphasized upon the outset of the advantages of the use of English as the medium of instruction. In 1864, he founded a scientific society for Aligarh for the introduction of Western sciences through translations into Urdu of works on physical sciences. The same year, he founded a modern school at Ghazipur. In 1868, he promoted the formation of education committees in several districts to initiate modern education among the Muslims. During his visit to Europe in 1869-70, he developed the plans of his life work, a major educational institution for Indian Muslims. In order to promote English education among the Muslims, he founded in 1875 a modern school at Aligarh, which soon developed into the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College. 1877. This college was to become the Muslim university after his death. It became the nursery of Muslim political and intellectual leaders. In 1886, Syed Ahmad Khan founded the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental Educational Conference as a general forum for spreading liberal ideas among the Indian Muslims. He rejected blind adherence to religious law and asked for interpretation of the Quran in the light of reason to suit the new trends of the time. He attempted to liberalize Indian Islam and made it amenable to new ideas and new interpretations. In this mission, he had to face the brunt of vehement attacks of orthodox theologians. The Ahmadiyya movement was founded by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad 1835 to 1908. In 1889, established a different trend while emphasizing the return to the principles initiated in the Quran. Ghulam Ahmad became controversial when he claimed to be a messiah, which was considered heretical by mainstream Islam. But he won many converts. His primary work was to defend Islam through the polemics of Arya Samaj and the Christian missionaries. In social morals, the Ahmadiyya movement was conservative, adherent to polygamy, veiling of women, and the classical rules of divorce. The Deoband movement was organized by the Orthodox section among the Muslim ulamas as a revivalist movement with the twin objective of propagating pure teachings of Quran and Hadith among the Muslims. The movement was established in Deoband in Saharanpur district by Muhammad Qasim Nanotwi and Rashid Ahmad Gangohi to train religious leaders for the Muslim community, in contrast to the Aligarh movement, which aimed to the welfare of Muslims through Western education and support of the British government. The aim of the Deoband movement was the religious regeneration of the Muslim community. The instruction imparted at Deoband adhered to classical Islamic tradition. The seminary at Deoband was founded in 1867 by theologians of the school of Waliullah Shah Muhammad Qasim Nanotwi took a prominent part in counter polemics against the Christian missionaries and the Adi Samajis. The principal objectives of the missionary at Deoband was to re-establish contact between the theologians and the educated Muslim middle class and to revive the study of Muslim religious and scholastic sciences. As a religious university, Deoband soon became an honored institution not only in Muslim India but also in the world of Islam at large. Natwat al-Ulama, a school less conservative than Deoband and more responsive to the demands of the modern age, was the Natwat al-Ulama, founded in 1894 at Lucknow by the historian Shibli Numani and other scholars. The school aimed to offer an enlightened interpretation of religion in order to fight the trends of agnosticism and atheism, which were to follow the advent of the modern Western education. Farangi Mahal, the third famous traditional school, is the much older one at Farangi Mahal in Lucknow. Farangi Mahal accepted Sufism as a valid experience and And the valid field of study. Another traditionalist movement was the Al-Hadith, or the followers of the dicta of the Prophet. Parsi reform movements, Zoroastrians persecuted in their Persian homeland migrated in large numbers to the west coast of India in the 10th century. As a trading community, they flourished over the centuries. A close-knit community, the Rahnumai Madhyasnan Sabha Religious Reform Association was founded in 1851 by a group of English-educated Parsis for the regeneration of the social conditions of the Parsis and the restoration of the Zoroastrian religion of to its pristine purity. The movement Nauroji, Farundoji, Dadabai Nauroji, S.K.R. Kama, and S.S. Bengali as its leaders. The message of reform was spread by the newspaper Rust Kofta, Truth Teller. Parsi religious rituals and practices were reformed, and the Parsi creed defined the social sphere. Attempts were made to lift the status of Parsi women through education, removal of farda, raising the age of marriage, and gradually the Parsis emerged as the most westernized section of the Indian society. They played a key role in the nationalist movement and in the industrialization of India. Sikh reform movement. Sikh community could not remain untouched by the rising tide of rationalist and progressive ideas of the 19th century. The Singh Sabha movement was formed in 1873 with the twofold objective to make available modern Western education to the Sikhs and to counter the proselytizing activities of Christian missionaries as well as Hindu revivalists. A network of Khalsa schools was established throughout Punjab. The Akali movement was an offshoot of the Singh Sabha movement. The Akali movement aimed at liberating the Akali movement, aimed at liberating the Sikh Gurdwara from the corrupt control of the Udasi Mahans priest. The government passed the Sikh Gurdwara Act in 1922, amended it in 1925, which gave control to Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee (SGPC) as the main body. Reform movements in Tamil Nadu. So Ramalinga Swamigal Vallalar was born in a modest family near Chidambaram and spent his early life in Madras. He never had formal schooling but exhibited great scholarship inspired by the Saiva Devaram and Tiruvasagam hymns. He began to compose moving poems on his own. In his time, Saiva religion was in the grip of Saiva monasteries such as those as Thiruvadurai, Dharmapuram, and Tirupannandal. Ramalinga Swamigal's poems expressed radical ideas and condemned bigotry and irrationality. He underwent certain mystical experiences which expressed in poems. This was by the orthodox elements in Saiva religion. He established as a Satya Dharma Salai at Vadalur, where he began to feed poor people, especially in the context of the 1860s famine and pestilence. Irrespective of caste and creed, he founded the Satya Jnana Samai to organize his followers. This brought into uh, conflict with established Saivite orders, and matters came to a head when his followers published his poems under the title of Thiruvarut Songs of Grace in 1867. Orthodox Saivites under the Sri Lanka reformer Arumugan Navalar criticized this as blasphemous and launched a tract war, but ultimately Ramalinga Swamigal's contribution was recognized and his writings inspired universal ideas and undermined sectarianism in Saiva religion. Buddhist revivalism and Ayodhya Das Pandita Sisa in an earlier lesson, Buddhism had been wiped out in the Tamil country by the beginning of the second millennium. Towards the end of the 19th century was a revival of Buddhism. The publication of the complete edition of Jivaka Sindhamani in 1887 and Mani Megala in 1898 were landmarks in the recovery of heterodox traditions. But the most important figure was Ayodhidasa Pandita, a native doctor by profession. He was an erudite scholar. He also came under the influence of Colonel Olcott of the Theosophical Society. In the 1990s, he began a movement among the Adi Dravidas, arguing that they were the original Buddhists who had been consigned to untouchability. Due to their opposition to Vedic Brahminism, he reread classical Tamil and other texts to make his case. He also encouraged the conversion to Buddhism. He founded the greatest following in North Tamil Nadu and among the working classes of the coal or gold fields. In his movement, Singaravelu and Professor Lakshmi Naras also played an important role. Pandita ran a weekly journal called Oru Paisa Tamilan, later Tamilan from 1908 until his death. Uh, Christian missionaries. The official religious policy of the East India Company was one of the neutrality towards the native religions. Who this The reason for continuing this policy was believed that the earlier Portuguese rule came to an end because their attempts to forcibly convert people to Christianity. As a result of this concern, the company's government prohibited the entry of missionaries into the territories under their control. In 1793, two English missionaries, William Carey and John Thomas, both Baptists, set out to India with the intention of starting a mission. In view of the ban on missionary activity, they settled down in the Danish colony of Serampore, north of Calcutta. Carey, along with two other missionaries, Joshua Marshman and William Ward, establishing the Serampore mission in 1799. The Serampore missionaries were the first evangelical Baptist missionaries in India. They were followed later by other missionary groups belonging to different Protestant denominations. Before the arrival of the Serampore missionaries several centuries earlier, there were Christian missions in the Portuguese territory of Goa and also on the Malabar coast and the Coromandel coast. The work of the earlier missionaries was limited both geographically and in terms of the number of conversions to Christianity. Thus, major attempts at proselytization began during the 19th century. The missionaries organized schools. The missionaries gave shelter to orphan children and other destitute widows in their boarding schools. They fought for civil rights, particularly after the famines, which were quite common during the 19th century, which we discussed in the pre-session. The missionaries organized relief, providing shelter and succor, gave this an opportunity to people convert people to Christianity. In Tirunelveli Valley district, many villages took to Christianity during famines, especially in the last quarter of 19th century. The same phenomenon was witnessed in Andhra, where Malas and Madigas embraced Christianity in a big way. The company government did little to provide modern education for the native population. For a long time, the provision of elementary school facilities to the native population, especially in the interiors of the disadvantaged and the poor people, was a responsibility uh, willingly accepted by the Christian missionaries.